So, okay, so today we are going to talk again about the live firewall configuration. So before I start with the firewall configuration, I received few of the emails email ID address. So basically, team is working to give the folder access. Probably after this class, immediately everyone will get the lab access and also the whatever the recording we have for the yesterday that already done, and the lab material and the lab guides and the study material, everything, right? So that is going to be happen. There is no problem, right? The next thing, what is going to happen? Let's say suppose you get in lab access and whatever the lab I'm going to deliver today's session. So you just have to explore those things by your own, right? Once you have the lab credentials, you have to explore those things by your own. So likewise, once you log into the lab based on the portals, whatever I just mentioned that, like might be this is your portal where you just have to open this portal, uh, this URL, and after opening this URL, you just have to put the username and password. So once you user name and password, you'll get similar kind of the interface. What I just log into the local IP address, and this is a public IP address, which is accessible from remotely. So once you log in it, you'll find the day zero labs. So the lab, what I'm going to do, this is local to me. This configuration is not going to reflect to you, okay? And the configuration you are going to do, that is not going to reflect any other your colleagues, okay? So everyone configuration and the lab will be the separate, whatever you are doing, right? So there is no like confusion if I'm doing something that is going to impact for them. The only things, if you deleting the any devices and you are adding any other devices in the existing lab, which I just created here, then it is going to make an impact and might be your colleagues will be also face some challenges. So I will recommend not delete anything. If you have anything in your mind and you want to just do configuration based on your intent or based on your need, then just let me know. I'll help you to do that labs, right? So this is what I am just I would like to suggest to everyone. So this is about the labs. Now moving about that topics, right? So we are talking about the firewalls configuration. So still we don't know how firewall looks like and how we can configure if I get any new the firewall, right? So we just have to understand first, we just have to visualize if I want to configure the Palo-Alto firewall, basically how Palo-Alto firewall looks like, right? We just have to understand. If we don't understand those things, probably we're not able to digest how firewall is going to be looks like, right? So if you think, if you see here in this particular session, so let me just see. So let me just go on the Google. So if I'm going on the Google and if I'm just typing here Palo-Alto Firewall, so in this Palo-Alto Firewall, you can see image, right? And if you see in the image, so this is one of the type of the Palo-Alto Firewall. This is the one of the beginner Palo-Alto Firewall. This is the PA200 series of the firewall that is known as the PA220 firewalls, right? So in this PA220 firewall, if you see some ports are available for the LAN ports, right? And it could be used for the WAN port also, right? So LAN port is just basically to connect your switches, which might be the company switch, right? So this port could be the switch port, right? And the WAN port could be any other port. So might be it is going to connect to the router or ISP, could be anything. So might this port is acting as a WAN port, this port acting as a LAN port. So there is no segregation in the Palo-Alto firewall. These ports, whatever you see, it could be used as a LAN port and it could be used as a WAN port also. It's totally like your wish, how basically you want to use these ports, right? In addition of that, we having some other ports, right? You can see we having the management ports and we having a console port. And not only one console port, we having a two console port here, right? So if you're buying any of the firewall, probably you'll find a similar kind of the architecture. You having a two kind of the console port, one of the management port. So why we use this console port and management port in a firewall? So we just have to understand. So I am just assuming everyone use the routers and switch. Everyone is familiar with router and switch. So router and switch also having some kind of the like ports, which we known as the console port, right? So console port basically we need to use whenever we having a brand new router and you want to configure those routers, so you can connect the console code with the with your router and with your PC or your laptop, And by using those PC and laptop, you can take the CLI command of the routers or the switch through the console cable, and you can do the all configuration. So all configuration, whatever you want to do, that is possible via the PC by using the console cable, right? Similar thing is going to happen in the Palo-Alto Firewall, right? So if Palo-Alto Firewall, you want to configure it, right, from the CLI, this console port, that is the RJ45 uh, type console port, that is going to be used. And by using this RJ45 console port, you can configure to the firewall, right? You can configure the firewalls. So this is absolutely, sorry, not the fiber, my bad. It's the firewall. So you can configure it by using the console port. This is absolutely possible. There is no problem. Now the next thing, why we need this console port? So this is the only likewise C-type connector, that mobile charger you have seen. So if there is another console cables available in the market, that is a C-type of the connectors. So you can use that also connector to take a console of the firewall, and you can do the similar type of whatever you can do via the RJ45. So this is the console ports also available on the firewall for the configuration, right? So probably if I need to configure this firewall, I need a console port. Definitely I need a console port. Without the console port, how can I do the configuration? So that thing you just have to keep in your mind. Now we having something called management port, right? So this is a very special port that has been designed on the Palo-Alto Firewall. And we just have to understand that port also, why we having a requirement of this particular port, right? So think in this way, if we talk about the Cisco router and switch, if we talk about Cisco router and the switch, so this Cisco router and switch, only basically we work on the CLI, not GUI, right? We not work on the graphical user interface. We keep working on the CLI, command line interface. CLI is equal to command line interface. GUI is equal to graphical user interface. So we keep working on the CLI. So that's why you never realize how to take a GUI of the router and switch. But even in the latest series of the router, ASR, ISR, or CSR, whatever coming, even you can take the GUI of the router by enabling the HTTPS feature or HTTP feature inside of the CLI command, and you can explore them absolutely GUI, but not that much user friendly. But when you talk about the Palo-Alto Firewall, you can basically, it is not recommended to do configuration from the CLI or via the console. It is always recommended to do everything from the GUI, right? The graphical user interface. So to make the firewall, like to make the accessibility of the firewall through the GUI, we basically need the port. That port is known as the management port. This is a design in such way, by using the port, we can take the GUI access of the firewall, right? So if you need a GUI access of the firewall, you need the management port. If you need the CLI of the firewall, you need the console port. So I hope you guys are clear about that. Any question till here about the management port, about the LAN port, about the WAN port, or everyone is clear about that? So this is about the management and console and the like whatever we having the like LAN WAN port, whatever we are going to use, that is absolutely going to work in this way. The next thing, whatever we are talking, that is USB port. So USB port is like used to just copy the iOS version if you want to copy any kind of the licensing you want to do, any kind of the backup you want to take. So that is a USB is also supportable to the Palo-Alto Firewall, and it is absolutely okay to just use the USB to do various jobs based on your need, like the iOS, some kind of licensing, some kind of the backup, some kind of other files. You can just take in or out from the firewall by using the USB port. In addition of that, we having a various LED status here. We having the HA status, we having the status of the firewall, we having the alarm of the firewall, we having a temperature of the firewall, we having the power of the firewall. So different HA states alarm, temperature, and the power. Once everything is fine with your firewall, they all will be the green. All will be the green. If anything problem in your firewall, like HA is not working. So HA is equal to high availability. We'll discuss more about what is a high availability, but just think HA is just high availability and statics, like whatever the state of the firewall, that is a state is going to show it's having a problem, it's like going good, everything is going to be shared by the states. Alarm is like any alarm is there, minor, major, or critical. So accordingly, there is a green, amber, and the red, that all states is going to be shown to you. Temperature, if temperature is going to be very high, that is also going to be shared here as a temperature based on the medium, criticals, and the normal. And power is also whether the power is okay or not. So every states you can see here, it's three colors, amber, green, or red, right? And based on that, you can decide whether firewall is doing well or not. So this is how firewall looks like, and this is the PA series 220 firewall. This is the baby firewall of the Palo Alto, and I can say this is the one of the smallest firewall, right? After 220, we having the higher series of the firewalls, and they are highly costly firewall. This is the one of the cheapest firewall, the smallest firewall. Might be it is going to use for the small offices, where might be 5 to 10 users are sitting there or 50 users are sitting there. So you can use this PA220 firewalls. But if you have in the larger site, larger branch, it is not recommended to use this PA series of the firewall, right? So this is the second thing you just have to understand. Now coming to the next point, let's discuss more about the management. So whenever you buy any firewall that is a hardware based firewall. There is two types of the firewall in the Palo Alto. One is the hardware, that is a physical firewall, right? Sorry for my, let me just write in this way. I just want to not use my hand. So I can just write in this way. We having the, like, you can just say physical firewall. This is the hardware based, right? Hardware based firewall, right? And another is the firewall, which is called as the VM firewall. VM firewall, that means virtual firewall. So whenever you buy the license for the virtual firewall, what is going to be, available on the management interface? And whenever you buying the physical firewall, the hardware firewall, what is going to available on the management interface? So whenever you going to buy any physical firewall, the management interface have predefined one of the IP address configured, which IP is 192.168.1.1. So if you go on the Google and you can search Palo Alto initial configuration, right? So perform Palo Alto initial configuration, you'll find that there will be articles. Let me show you from the official documentation. So you have in the right impression what I'm talking, right? So when you think about, whenever you just purchase any of the firewall, by default, it's having the IP address is 192.168.1.1. It is a hard coded IP address already available of every physical firewall, which is you going to purchase from the Palo Alto. So by default, PA series firewall has an IP address 192.168.1.1. So this is the default IP address you will get on the Palo Alto firewall. Is it okay to everyone? And default username and password of any of the firewall of this management interface is admin/admin. This is the default username password. So two things you understand, whenever you buy for any physical firewall, I'm not talking about the VM firewall, you'll get this IP address. By default, it is hard coded on this particular management interface. And also they're having the username and password. But if same thing you just going to buy on the VM series of the firewall, probably you'll not get this IP address. Sometime you'll get, sometime you'll not get. It's totally depend. But in Panorama, I have seen it is available, but Palo Alto Firewall, I never seen this IP is available. So in VM, this could be not available. Okay. So this thing also you have to keep in your mind. So now think, if this IP is available on this particular firewall, right? So how the management port is going to play a vital role to take a GUI access of the firewall, right? So what we have to do, we require two things. We required one of the laptop. So we required the laptop here. Let's suppose this is my laptop. or maybe just I can draw in this way in my hand. So just think this is my laptop. This is my laptop. This laptop having, there is some kind of RJ45 connected, and I can connect that on this particular port, right? This port having already IP address 192.168.1.1. We all agree this port already having this IP address. So I need to ping from laptop to this particular management IP address, which is configured on this particular management interface. So what we have to do? So I go to my NIC card of the laptop. After going in the NIC card of the laptop, I have to change the IP address. And here I need to just configure one of the IP address. So IPv4 I need to change. IPv4 address I need to change. And after changing the IPv4 address 192.168.1, I can use any of the IP address from /24 subnet. Might be I'll use .2/24 here. So you can see this laptop and this firewall having the same series of the IP address, right? There's no changes, right? This one is 192.168.1.2 and this one is 192.168.1.1. So both are the same subnet IP address on cable is connected. So we able to ping. So at this point, we able to ping firewall IP from laptop. I hope you all agree with me, because we are having the same subnet of the IP, same broadcast domain. So we able to ping. So once we able to ping the firewall from this particular PC to this firewall interface, we just have to do on my laptop browser HTTPS, and we just have to do 192.168.1.1. And once I do this particular from my browser, I will get the GUI access to the firewall. So this is how it is going to be happen. So same thing happen in my documentation. If you refer it, by default, these all default username and password they are talking. They having some kind of default IP address and mask, default gateway and all. And finally, if you've done everything, you have to do this HTTPS to just get the GUI access. So this is our today first lab to take GUI access of this firewall, right? So how we can take that? This is our first lab, right? And we are going to do that. So just bear with me and try to understand. So if you see here, this is my Palo-Alto Firewall and this is my PC, my one of the like window machine, which is connected to the firewall. So this firewall, actually it's a virtual firewall, so we don't have any console port. But how console is going to work? Console is going to work via the EVNG. So first thing we have to do, we have to start the PC and the firewall. How can we start? We just go there, we can just select it and we can just start it. And they are going to be started. So you can see my PC start booting up and the PC is started. And after some time, my firewall is also become a green. That means it is also started, right? So same thing, my firewall and PC is started. And the same scenario you can see here, this firewall, because this is the VM, so we'll try to see this management interface, this IP available or not. If not available, we just have to define. And also we just have to define some IP address on the PC. So we just have to check everything. But this is the management port, which is connected to the PC for the GUI access. But what about the console port for the CLI, right? This was GUI access. So the taking the console in the virtual environment, like it is not possible. So how it is possible? If you just double click on this particular boxes, it will give the auto console to you. So see, I already received the console of the firewall. So this is CLI. So no need any additional console cable in the virtual environment, but definitely in the physical environment you need. But when you do in the virtual environment, just need to double click and the console will be on front of you because it's running in the virtualization environment. So we cannot connect the cables, physical cables, or you cannot show the console with the PCs, right? This feature is not available in the virtual environment. So once you're done with the console of this firewall you restarted, you just have to wait at least 5 to 10 minutes. At least might be 5 minutes, you just have to wait. After waiting the 5 minutes, or might be 5 to 6 minutes, you just probably have to wait 10 minutes. This firewall will be ready to use because it's a very huge processing. They are going to sync every daemons, every iOS version. They are going to check everything, kernels and whatever they having the processor and the softwares See, this is the PAN-OS software. And once they verify everything and they found everything in place, then they will ready to serve you, right? So let them serve. Meanwhile, the PC, if you start, the PC will be might be going to boot very soon. So once you start the PC, you having the by default username available, that is OVI, but your password of this PC is 123. So this is note down. You can note down this password. This virtual PC password is 123. So I need to do one thing. I need to go there and I have to put the password 123 and I just press enter. So my PC is going to open in front of me. So you can see this PC is open in front of me and it is okay. So now my PC is open, this PC. So what I have to check? I have to check whether this IP is configured on this interface or not. So how can I check that? So I have to go there and I have to go in my CMD, and after going in CMD, I just have to write IP config. And once we write this IP config, you can see there is already IPs available, right? But let me just do one thing. Uh, mm, let me just stop this. I just want to build from 0 because I don't want to, So sometime if you get the license error, because this is the license EVNG, so you just have to wait for some times because sometime it give the license issues. So after 2-3 minutes, it is going to solve. So let me just stop it. Or let me just add some new devices here. I just want to build another lab because there is some kind of problem. So I can use this one and let me just use this one only. And let me use some other PC, window PC, because there is some kind of the pre-configured. So I don't want to use that one in front of you all. I want to build a new lab. So this is connect. This I need to connect from this PC to this Palo-Alto Firewall. So how can I connect? From this PC, I need to use the Ethernet port, which is a NIC card, and from management port from the firewall, we just have to select from there. So I just selected the management port and click OK. And after clicking OK, we just have to start this. Probably it will not give an error. So you can see this is started. So if this is started, we are good. And let me just stop this. So let me just stop this all because actually I don't need. And let me just use this IP here, this IP here. So we can have a 0 level understanding what we are doing. So this is how I build a new lab, similar setup. Okay. So now if I'm going to build, now this PC doesn't having any configuration because I want to show you all there is no configuration. This firewall also having no configuration. So this is again going to boot up. So let them boot. It is booting up. And meanwhile, this PC is also going to boot. So let me see if boot up is completed or not. So let them complete. Once it is going to complete, we'll try to log in it. So just wait for a few minutes. See this PC having this interface again. So I'll put 123 password. And after putting 123 password, I will be inside of the PC. And after entering the PC credentials, you can see this is the PC. So if I want to make the little bit bigger PC size, so I'll just select some different window side adjustment feature. So I can go here and just select that. Which one? I can select this one. Let me just check what is happening in there. So I can clip it. I can click it and keep the changes. Okay. So this looks fine to me. Start later. And then I will just go again and I'll go in the CMD. Okay. So if I'll go in CMD again and try to check the IP address of this PC. So this PC, if you see IP config, it doesn't having any IP address. It's showing the APIPA IP address. 169 series IP address is APIPA IP address. So that means this PC doesn't having the valid IP address. So we just have to configure the valid IP address. So how we can configure the valid IP address? This was my intent. I want to show you from the scratch so you don't get confused. So you can go in the network or might be the control panel. And after going in the network, you just go in the change adapter settings and go in the LAN settings. And after going in the LAN setting, you can go in the properties. And after going in the properties, you just have to select the TCP IP v4 and you can use here the IP address. Whatever the IP address we have here, 192.168.1.2, same series of the IP address we just have to take, right? So 192.168.1.2 and the subnet mask is this one. Gateway, leave it for time being. There is no gateway required. I just configure the IP address because they are going to stay in the same broadcast domain. So no gateway basically technically required. Okay. So now you can see if I try to check the IP address from this PC. So if I'm trying to check the IP address, IP config. So if you see there is no like gateway configured, but IP is available. But if I try to ping this IP address, which is designed here for the management interface, is it reachable or not? See, it will be the not reachable because still my firewall might be not reachy, or oh, it is sorry. I need to change the IP address. Probably it is reaching. Why it is reaching? I know why it is because virtually they might be connecting to the different PC. Okay, they should be not reachable because still firewall is not ready. But I know this is the virtually this adapter is going somewhere to just ping it. Let me just trace it where it is going to happen. It should be not reachable anyhow. Let me just try to see. This is my router, home router gateway also. So I'm just trying to see what is happening here. So it is not going nowhere. Okay. Let me see in this firewall what is happening. So firewall, you can see this is firewall is almost ready. So you can try to log in the admin and password is admin. So once I am putting the admin, this is showing or throwing me the incorrect username and password. But it is a normal behavior. No need to worry for you. Okay. This is the normal behavior for the firewall because it is still not ready. It takes some time to complete the sync-up process. So initially it take around 5 to 10 minutes sometime. Just complete the sync-up process. Then it is going to take your credential admin and admin. So it is synced, not synced. Still throw me to error. So let me just try one more time. Not taking the credential. So if it is not taking your credential, you no need to worry. You just have to wait for some time. Okay. So likewise, it is throwing me. So I can keep trying to log in and I just need to wait. No other choice. Let me just troubleshoot why this was pinging. So you see there's RTO, but for some reason, let me just check again. Let me just try out. Now it is stop pinging as well. Somehow might be it was ping some region, but now it is stop pinging. There's no reply. So this is a normal behavior. This PC should not reach to this IP address because the firewall is still not ready. So how it can be reachable, right? So we just have to wait for some time. Once the firewall will be ready, we'll try to see how it is going to happen. So it's still not ready. Admin. It is not taking. So no choice. We just have to wait only. Just wait. No choice. Basically, we have. Let me keep trying. Still not login. No choice. Admin. Admin. Probably this time it has been taken the credential. Yes. So now the firewall is ready. So you can see they've taken the admin username and password, and now it is asking to enter the old password, because after login with the admin, you just have to change the password. So now again I put the old password is admin. Once I put the old password admin, let me just put it here. I'll put admin. It is asking me the new password. So new password should be combination of the special character and the numeric value and the like alphabet also, right? So I'll put one of the password here and I just click OK. So now my device is ready and it is ready to serve. So you can see this is ready. So if this firewall is ready for me, then what next? So my PC is not able to ping this particular firewall IP address because this is a virtual. And I told if you are purchasing the virtual firewall, your management interface doesn't have the IP address, which is 192.168.1.1. This is not going to happen by default. If it is a physical firewall, by default, it will be available. And once you assign the IP address from the PC, it will start pinging. So how can I check what is the IP address in my management interface? So there is a command you can check. You can run a command show system info. So you can run first show system info. If you're running the command, you'll find that what is the IP address available of this particular firewall. So you can see there is no IP address. IP address is unknown. Public IP address is unknown. Netmarks is unknown. Gateway is unknown. So this is the one way to check, do we have any management IP address on my firewall? The answer is no, but few other information you can see here. There is like software version, there is like hardware version, there's the application version, but just leave it. Second option we have show interface management command, right? So if you run this command, this will also show what is IP address configured on my firewall management interface. So you can see this IP, this also not showing anything because this management interface, IP address and gateway mask, everything is unknown for you. You can see here, nothing is configured here. So this is also unknown for you, right? So this is the second thing you just have to take care, right? There is unknown, everything unknown. Now, the question is, how can I configure the IP address? If I have the VM, I don't have the, any physical firewall available with me, then how can I configure the IP address on this management interface? So this is the first question, because if you not configure the IP address for this particular interface, probably you cannot take access from this particular PC for the GUI, right? This is not possible. So how can I do that? So basically you just have to go in the configuration and you just have to write a command set device config system IP address, and you just have to do 192.168.1.1, and net mask you just have to give 255.255.255.0. So this command you just have to run. So you guys can write this command set device config system IP address, and IP address of this particular firewall net mask should be /24 or /16 as per your wish, because it's a VM. Any IP you can assign. It's not mandatory. You just have to assign the 192 series IP address. It could be assigned any private range of the IP address, just taking the management, right? And just after doing that, you just have to click OK. But here is one problem. If I try to commit, so see, whatever configuration I have done on this particular CLI, it is still not applied here on this particular firewall or inside of this firewall. Because to make configuration in effect, you just have to run a command which is known as the commit. So you just have to run a command commit. If you are doing the commit, then if you are doing the commit, then only changes will be come on effect, right? So आपको इस चीज को ध्यान रखना, right? So it will come in effect. So you have to take care of these things कि आपको तब तक चेंजेस नहीं आएगा आपके इफेक्ट में जब तक आप उस पर कमिट नहीं करते हो। तो कमिट के लिए यहाँ पे कमांड चलाना पड़ेगा कमिट, बट मैं ये चलाऊंगा तो भी मेरे लिए एक प्रॉब्लम अभी भी है। आप बताता हूँ क्या प्रॉब्लम है। देखो मैं कमिट कर दिया, मैं चाहता हूँ कि आप लोगों को दिखाऊं शुरू से। तो एक तो प्रॉब्लम अभी ये है कि आपका जो फायरवॉल है ना, ये ऑटो कमिट मोड में अभी है, और जब तक वो ऑटो कमिट कंप्लीट नहीं होगा आप दूसरा कमिट नहीं चला सकते हो। पहली तो एक प्रॉब्लम ये है, ठीक है। सो पहले तो हमें ऑटो कमिट को रिजॉल्व करना पड़ेगा। बिना ऑटो कमिट को रिजॉल्व किए हम कमिट नहीं चला सकते। तो ऑटो कमिट क्या होता है कि जब फायरवॉल को हम पहली बार या दूसरी बार रिस्टार्ट करते हैं ना, तो वो क्या करता है कि जो उसकी रनिंग कॉन्फ़िगरेशन जो भी होती है ना, जो भी उसके कैंडिडेट रनिंग कॉन्फ़िगरेशन जो अवेलेबल है, तो उसको कमिट करता, ऑटो कमिट करता, ताकि वो स्टार्टअप कॉन्फ़िगरेशन बन जाए और वो फायरवॉल में सेव हो जाए। तो ऑटो कमिट मोड में चला जाता है। तो इसको हमें एक कमिट फोर्स कमांड चलाते हैं, देखते हैं कि ये हमारा कमिट होता है कि नहीं। सो ये नहीं हो रहा, ये तो अलग ही कहानी हो गया। ओके, सो नाउ इट इज टेकिंग इन कमिट। तो जो मैंने अब कमिट किया था वो कमिट होने लगा, क्योंकि ऑटो कमिट अपना कंप्लीट हो गया होगा। ये देखो दिखा रहा ना कि ऑटो कमिट पहले एरर दिया, तो हो सकता है कि प्रोसेस में हो, तो कमिट हो गया होगा। तो इसके बाद हमारी अब जो ये चेंजेस है वो कमिट होने लगी। देखो ये चेंजेस कमिट होने लगी और 98% हो गई कमिट। सो अभी इसका कमिट का वेट करते हैं। सो देखो अभी ये बता रहा है कि हमारा जो कमिट ना सक्सेसफुल हो गया। ये बता रहा है कमिट सक्सेसफुल हो गया। तो जब कमिट मेरा सक्सेसफुल हो गया, दैट मीन्स जो मैंने चेंजेस किए हैं उसके अब इस इंटरफेस पे आईपी आ जाना चाहिए। बट थोड़ा सा आप लोग देखो, अगर मैं देखता हूँ सो सिस्टम इन्फो, इस पे ना आईपी नहीं है अभी भी। देखो आप लोग, राइट, इस पे आईपी नहीं है। अगर मैं फिर से दूसरा कमांड चलाता हूँ कि सो इंटरफेस मैनेजमेंट, देखो इस पे भी आईपी नहीं है। तो आप लोग अब बोलोगे कि सर आपने तो चेंज कर दिया फिर भी आईपी क्यों नहीं आ रहा है, राइट? दिस इज वैलिड क्वेश्चन, एंड मैं आप लोग को ये चीजें इंटेंशनली दिखाई कि अगर आप जाके सिर्फ आईपी चेंज करते हो तो आईपी कमिट तो हो जाएगा, चेंजेस भी हो जाएगा, लेकिन रिफ्लेक्ट नहीं होगा। आपका चेंज वैलिड है, आपने चेंज कर दिया, बट वो रिफ्लेक्ट नहीं होगा आपकी कॉन्फ़िगरेशन जाकर इंटरफेस पे। उसके पीछे जो रीजन है ये है कि आपकी जो आईपी असाइनमेंट होता है वो दो तरीके से होता है। द फर्स्ट वे ऑफ असाइनिंग द आईपी एड्रेस इज a static IP assignment, और second is the dynamic IP असाइनमेंट। सो आपको दो तरीके से आपको फायरवॉल पे आईपी असाइन कर सकते हो, या तो आप स्टैटिक करो या तो आप डायनेमिक करो। तो जब हमें किसी इंटरफेस पे स्टैटिक आईपी असाइन करना होता है तो उस इंटरफेस का टाइप भी मुझे चेंज करना पड़ता है स्टैटिक। अगर वो डीएससीपी में है इंटरफेस का जो भी हमारा आईपी है, सो वी कैन नॉट असाइन द आईपी एड्रेस, राइट? सो वी कैन नॉट असाइन द आईपी एड्रेस इफ इट इज ऑन द डीएससीपी मोड। So we just have to change those from DSCP to static, right? And if we are going to change, then only we are able to assign IP address. ये चीजें you just have to take care in your mind, right? So how can we check the interface of the management having the assignment method is a static or dynamic? We just have to verify, right? Why not it is taking the IP address? Do we have the dynamic assignment on this interface? So we just have to verify this also. So how can we verify that? So we just have to go in the firewall again. And if you check the firewall, this command, so system info, if you run this command, you notice here the IP assignment is a DSCP. It's not a static. So till the time this assignment is a DSCP, you cannot assign the static IP address on this particular interface. So this is the problem, and that's why this IP is not getting reflected here, right? So the first thing before assigning the IP address, if you don't have any IP address on the firewall management interface, you just have to change from DSCP to static. Then only you can assign the IP address, right? So let me do the again configuration. My first configuration was not correct. So I have to go and do the configuration. And first I need to change the assignment types. So set, you can write this command, device configuration, system type, and here you just have to mention DSCP client or a static. DSCP already there, not client. DSCP, like why is he is acting as a client? DSCP we put that is acting as a client. So I'll put as a static. So now my interface is going to be changed as a static after commit. And then I'll again assign the IP address, set device configuration, system IP address, that is 192.168.1.1 net mask. I will use 255.255.255.0. And I will just commit. So I hope you guys able to write this configuration. सिंपल सा configuration command line है, आप लोग लिख लो इसको because it's very important and it is going to help to complete this lab. Okay. So this is how it is going to be happen. So you can see now my configuration is going to be completed 99%. Okay. After 100%, probably we'll see the configuration available on the interface. So now I have done with the configuration. My commit is successful. That means my configuration has been successfully applied on the interface. So I just have to run a command. So system info again, and after applying this command, you'll see that the IP has been assigned on this interface. The subnet mask has been assigned to the interface, and assignment type is also changed from DSCP to static. So this is the beauty of changing from the any assignment type. And if you're not changing from the DSCP to static, it is not going to take the IP address. So this is the first thing we have done. The second thing, if I'm running the command show interface management, you can see here also the IP is start reflecting in subnet mask. So it looks we are good with the management interface configuration. So this is the first thing we have done with the management interface configuration. After doing this configuration, what next? Now my PC should able to reach this particular IP address. So how can I verify whether it's reachable or not? So probably I have to just go on interface and I have just write 192.168.1.1 and see it is pingable. Means I'm able to reach from this PC to this Palo-Alto Firewall. So now the task is to take the GUI access of the firewall. CLI already we have. From here you can see. Now this CLI is based on the console. Now we just have to take the GUI access of the firewall. So how can I take? So to taking the GUI, you just have to, once you having a start, you have done the reachability from that PC to your, firewall, then you just have to go on the browser, any of the browser, and you just have to write the HTTPS. So you just have to write here HTTPS 192.168.1.1. And after writing this HTTPS, probably your firewall will respond after a few seconds. So just wait. Your browser is trying to reach, and you can see your firewall responded. And it is showing some connection is not private. You can just ignore it. There is some certificate errors. So this is the common, because when we don't have the secure connections, HTTPS connections, so it is going to give such kind of the errors. So no need to worry about. You just have to click on the advanced, and you just have to click on the proceed with the IP and unsafe message. Once you click on it, you'll get the beautiful dashboard of the Palo-Alto Firewall, right? And here you just have to put the credential, whatever you set on the CLI. So I just put here my credential, and after putting this credential, I will get my firewall GUI access. Sometime it is going to ask the invalid. So you can just use the admin again, and then it is going to ask you again change the username password for the GUI as well. Sometime it asks. So let me just do that. I just put it admin and just wait for, so it is asking to change. For 9.0 we having such kind of the problem, but 10.0 we don't have. So let me just use admin. Old password is admin. Sorry, old password is admin. New password, I'll just put here something and I'll repeat that. And I'll just change the password from here also. Similar to CLI, we just have to change. And after doing that, I just log into the admin and I'll just write here, okay. And then we'll have the Palo-Alto Firewall access from here. So now we are good with the Palo-Alto Firewall. And see, my credential has been okay. So once we're done with the credential, what next we have to do? So the next thing, you having the very beautiful dashboard and you can explore this dashboard, right? So this is the Palo Alto Firewall dashboard when you log into the GUI, right? And this dashboard is showing everything about your like general information, your logged in admin information, some configuration information, some data information, some system log information, and some system resources informations. So try to understand. See the first tab here, the logged in admins. You can see this is showing two kind of the client connections. One is the web and one is the CLI. Why? Because we having a really two connection because we have taken the console. This is the CLI. And also we taken the GUI, that is a web connection. So this is a two method it is showing. Your firewall is right now login with this admin user, and same is login via the console, and same admin is login via the web via the GUI. So this is the information. What is the start time session and till what time it is idle or active, whatever it is showing. So you can see the information here as well. So by using these particular things, you can understand who right now log into the firewall by what method, right? So we are very clear. Two clients are there, which is login in the firewall. One is from the CLI, another is from the GUI. The next thing, if you see in the general information, they're talking about this firewall device name is the PAVM, Palo Alto Virtual Machine or Virtual Model. You can say that. So VM is equal to virtual machine basically. So this is a VM based firewall. This is management IP address 192.168.1.1, which we configured on this particular interface. This is a net mask. Again, we configured on this interface. The V6 IP address, IPv6 is unknown, right? MAC address is just showing. Management MAC is just showing. Model is unknown. Well, model is PAVM. Serial number is unknown because we don't have license one. I have another firewall which is license one. I'll show you later on. Some CPU ID, some UI ID, just ignore it. License is none. VM mode is KVM. What is software version this particular firewall? That is a 9.0.4. So we having a different software versions. It could be the 7.0.0. It could be the 8.0.0. It could be the 9.0.0. So right now 9 series we are running 10.0.0. So it could be anything. Just you have to use based on your organization recommendation, which version you want to use. Latest one 10.0.0, which I am going to use as a license firewall in the upcoming section, right? Whenever you're going to do the labs and all, right? And then after we having a further things, if you go scroll down, you will see some kind of the application versions. We'll discuss more about global protect versions. We talk about the URL filtering version, and then time. What is the current time in the firewall? What is the up time of the firewalls? It's showing this is the up time of the firewall is 22 minutes 41 seconds, right? So till the time this firewall is up and working, and some plugins they are talking. And now very interesting thing, we'll discuss very deep things about the control plane and management plane. So this firewall having a two CPU, one is for the management plane, one for the data plane, right? So this is what unique feature having this Palo Alto firewall. Another any of the devices you have seen, right? Cisco router switch, they only having a single CPU. But this Palo Alto firewall having a dual CPU. By using this dual CPU, we can do very good things which we discuss later stage. Anyone having any question till now? Because I am speaking since long and I didn't give any opportunity to anyone ask question. I just wanted to ask anyone having anything not digestible and you want to discuss with me. No one, everyone is able to understand very clearly. Okay, so I'm just taking as you know, I just assuming everyone is very clear about the concept, what I'm teaching here. So that's fine. So the next thing, after we understand about the CPU and resources, we'll do the more deep dive later stage. No need to worry about that. What else we have? So we having a lot of things also, like you can see, we having some data log which is not available, but some system logs. So like who log in, what time, from what IP, what method, who authenticated. So everything's whatever you're doing, authentication, logging. So basically it's like a syslogs. We refer to the Cisco switches and router. Same syslog is here, system log. You can see every events, whatever you're going to perform, that is going to be recorded here. So you can see here some kind of commit was job successful with the admin, some kind of the IP we updated, like this IP address we updated, right? Some authentication from this user was done, right? Someone login via the web UI. So everything they are just listing here for the different purpose, right? Now, the most important thing is about the config logs. So even in sitting on the dashboard, you can see what config is available. Means what config recently we make a changes and who make the changes and what time they make the changes. Even what configuration they make a changes, you can see. So you can see the admin user had did the commit and they did this two line configuration, the system device configuration, and they changed the system type. So you can see the admin have make some changes, and based on the changes, the firewall having some kind of the like configuration change difference, and you that's why you are seeing the configuration log here, right? So this is all about the configuration changes and many more things we have from here. You can update from here. If you don't like any information, you don't want to on dashboard, you can just delete it here. I just want to delete, I can delete these information. So I can delete everything from dashboard, right? If you want to add it back, at least one would be required. If you want to add it word again, so you just have to go in widgets, and you just have to, if you want to see the top 10 applications, you can just add it here. So there is no top 10 application because there is nothing is running here. Top high risk application, you can just click, it will show here. There's no, nothing is showing. SEC respected application, nothing is here. So in application segment, everything is on dashboard. If you want to see, you can select from here. So whatever you want to customize, it is absolutely possible from dashboard. You want to see the general information again, see general information is there. Interface, you can see the interface information. All are down, there's no configuration. You want to see the high ability, you can see here. If you want to drag from here to here, you can drag also. See, so I just dragged some information. So they are looking in the different. So it's like very flexible. If you want to see the logs, so you can see for the log, there's no logs. You want to see the logged in admin, so you can see the logged in admin. I want to see logged in admin here, so I can push here, right? It's my choice where I want to see. So I can just drag and drop here. Similarly, I want to see here the logs, thread logs, I can see here. I want to see URL filtering, I can see here. I want to data filtering, I can see here. The config logs, I can see here. See, and system log, I can see. So everything, whatever I want to see in my dashboard, which section I want to see, I can just drag and drop. I can just take from the widgets and I can just delete from any time. Clear about this dashboard settings, how it is going to happen. These are the small things, but it's a very important thing, right? So this is
Sir,
how you, हाँ बताइए, tell me.
I have a question. Basically, कभी कभी होता है कि GUI अगर corrupt हो जाए, the GUI is corrupted, so CLI will be available and how to cover the GUI. I faced some issue last 1 year back.
So your GUI was not accessible, right?
हाँ, right, and only CLI. तो how CLI से या GUI में क्या IP change करें या फिर कुछ debug work करके करना पड़ता है?
So
मतलब मैंने किया नहीं था.
the question is, Yavar, like there is again two question. Let me just write it here. That's a good question. CLI. So this CLI was accessible via the remote or via the console. You just have to tell
Right,
me
right,
which
right.
which one, remote or console?
Our console. Suppose a console.
Console. Okay. So the console remote was down. So okay. So management basically, whatever the GUI basically use the management port, and this is always going to accessible by the remote or could be the console. So generally 99% case, it is going to use by the remote. But If we want to use by the console, by the local, it is also possible. So you lost the connection of the management via remote or local, where?
Suppose remote or local, both. I think I faced them because Palo-Alto was on Azure, so handled by me. So I think that is the remote, because from work home I have to take from the IP address they have given to me. So when I access this particular Palo-Alto over the web, which is crashed. So
Okay.
after crash remotely, then how can I access? Then how to configure this? How to go to the CLI?
So let me just explain both of the scenario, remote and the local. What does mean? I was trying to get the information from you. See, if you are losing the access from the remote, right? The first scenario, if you are losing access from the remote, that means you are lost some management subnet reachability. Management subnet reachability. This is the first thing, right? So if you lost the management subnet reachability, you can't access via remote. This is the one thing you just have to take care, right? This is possible. Even if you are taking the CLI from the management IP address, that CLI also stop working, right? If it is happening via the same management IP address, okay? But if you're talking the same thing via the local, so local, if you want to take the GUI, so management interface, if your management, let me just write here, if your MGMT interface having IP address, then you can take access from laptop. There's no problem, right? You agree or not? Because IP need to be reachable. So you can connect the laptop, you connect the RJ45, you can take the console. There is no problem for the GUI access. And the same time, if you want to take the CLI, so you just have to connect the console cable from the local laptop to the firewall, and you can also take access. So local, there would be not any issue, because until your firewall is dead, or something went in the processing level or the iOS level, you always can take the access from the locally. It is 100% true. You can just have to trust on me, right? So yeah, you agree or not?
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
But sometimes what happens, the GUI is crashed. So remotely, then, so is it possible with the help of CLI we can access the
No,
GUI?
even say, so there is again a question, like if you are trying to access from the remotely from the CLI also, your whatever the subnet, whatever the management IP, or might be some other subnet IP, you are trying to access, that should be reachable remotely as well. If it is not reachable, you cannot access, right?
Right.
Right. Okay. Any other question, guys? Anyone having any other question? Anything you guys not understanding?
Do we need to configure anything specific for getting remote CLI access?
That's again the good question. Remote CLI access you are talking, right?
Yes.
So yes, we just have to do something in terms of the routing, because might be, let's say suppose you having some network here, right? You are having one of the Palo-Alto Firewall here. This is the Palo-Alto Firewall. And we having some subnet here, that is a management subnet. So this management subnet might be the 10.10.10.10/24. And now you are connected over the internet, and this Palo-Alto connected, and you are sitting here. So until this 10.10 subnet is reachable from your laptop, you cannot take the GUI or the CLI. Make sense? So you just have to advertise this subnet through the MPLS or whatever the connection you have, so that this subnet can be pinged from this PC. So until you have to end-to-end reachability, you cannot take the access. So in firewall, you just have to do the routing, or might be not firewall. So after firewall, you having a router will just advertise that route information in the internet cloud. And after that, you can access from the remotely, but routing is most important part here. Without routing,
Yes.
it is not going to work.
So management IP is reachable through my desktop, let's say, but is there any specific in the Palo Alto to get the access of CLI?
No, there is no specific things. Only you just have to your desktop. You should have the putty software should be installed, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and this likewise this. So let me show you. So let me just use this PC, right? Just think about this PC. So this PC having the putty software. Let me just take the remote access of this firewall from the putty. So I just go in the putty section. Let me just use here. So we have or not? Yeah, we have. So just you have to go there and just once it is reachable, if your machine is able to ping the IP address. So let me just test. It is pingable, right? So if I'm pingable, I want to take the remote CLI, right? So I just have to put the IP address 192.168.1.1. Once you do that, it is going to respond. So it is responded. So you just have to put the admin username and the password, whatever you have to set. So once you do that, we have the access to the firewall.
What about SSH?
Okay, SSH. So the currently we are doing the Palo Alto Firewall, which is based on the SSH only. See here 192.168.1.1, and here already SSH is selected. And if I'm opening, this is doing the SSH only.
Okay,
See?
so there is no configurations required the firewall and for the SSH, right?
Why there is no configuration required? Let me tell you. By default, the management interface, right? The management, this is a really good question. I wanted to cover later stage, but you asked Chirag, so let me just cover it up right now. Okay, still we have a time. So by default, the management interface, whatever we have, right? They having some feature enable, right? Like SSH, right? Like telnet or HTTPS. These features are already enabled on this management interface. Apart from the management interface, other interface if we having on the Palo Alto Firewall, these all by default disabled. But management interface, it is enabled. How can we check that? We just have to go on the device, right? Let me show you so you guys can visualize as well. And if you go on the interface, so this is the interface you see here in the Palo Alto. That is the management interface. So let me show you something. So you can see this is the management interface. And by default, you can see these three features are enabled: ping, HTTPS, and SSH. Not telnet, but ping is enabled. You can enable the telnet as well if you want. So see, you having a provision, you can enable the telnet, HTTPS, HTTP, right, and SSH. But by default, only three feature is enabled: HTTPS, SSH, and ping. So if I want to do the telnet of this firewall from this PC, the telnet is not going to work. Let me show you. So if I am going to telnet of this firewall from this particular PC, telnet is not going to work, but SSH is going to work. But how can enable the telnet? Let me show you. See, if I'm trying to do 192.168.1.1, and if I'm trying to telnet, see, this is not going to work. But if I want to work telnet as well, so you just have to click here on telnet. So telnet is going to be enabled on this particular interface. Okay. So let me see why it is not allowing to do that. Telnet, why it is not allowing? Okay, might be we have to put the gateway, then it is going to allow. Yeah, so this is the region. So let me just put myself as a gateway. So then it is going, because gateway is mandatory. So now you can see my telnet is also enabled, but still my configuration is not in effect, right? So we just have to do the commit. So still, if I have done the configuration, but still no commit, so it is not going to affect. My telnet is still not going to work. See, it is telnet and it is not going to work. So I have to do the commit first. So commit, once I do the commit, then my configuration, whatever I make, it is going to come in effect. And then after we can make some changes.
Okay, got it.
So let me show you and complete this one also. This is a really good question. I appreciate. Thank you for asking. So it is completed now, and then let me just what have to do. Let me just this is done. This is done. Let me just go now. So my telnet is enabled now. Now go again in the putty session, and I just copy and paste. And when sorry, this should be the SSH, not SSH, should be telnet. Let me select again telnet here. And this is telnet this time. And if I am doing telnet, see, this is showing the login prompt. Telnet is start working for me. So you can enable the telnet. This is how we can enable the telnet and SSH both. By default, SSH enabled, telnet is disabled. So this is about the management interface. Any other question, guys? Anyone having anything in your mind?
Also, whenever we are configuring through CLI, right, device config and type statics, right, at that time only the management interface status will be changed from dynamic to static, right? Not
Yes.
about the other interface.
No about the other interface. Absolutely
Okay.
no.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So let me just move something else about the Palo-Alto firewalls. So we understand about the basic configuration, and I hope you guys understand well about how to do the basic configuration of the firewall, day zero configuration of the firewall. How can we onboard the firewall from the CLI and the GUI if I have the very new firewall? At least I'm assuming you guys visualize how Palo-Alto firewall looks like. What are the different types of interface we having on the Palo-Alto firewall? What are the different stat lights we having on the Palo-Alto firewall, right? So we all understand, and different management console port and many more, right? Now, this is the baby firewall, which I keep saying about the Palo-Alto, but we just also have to understand about the more about the products of the Palo-Alto firewall. So what else product we having in the market for the Palo-Alto firewall? So let me just go through that. So at least you guys understand about the more products as well. So okay, Kamarjit, you'll get definitely. Let me just try to do it today only. So I'll ask Abhishek sir, he will complete your lab session today only. No need to worry. After class, I will definitely contact to Abhishek sir, or you can also reach out to Abhishek sir because he is managing lab and everything. So he will definitely give to you. Okay. So this is the baby firewall. This is a PA220, and it is going to use for the small office locations. So whenever you buy any of the firewall, every firewall having some set of the features, right? Some firewall basically work for the low end support, right? If you're having the low end site where very limited user are going to sit, so we can use the very small firewall, that is a PA200 series of firewall. But after PA200 series firewall, we having a many more firewalls like PA800 series firewall, we having a PA3200 series firewall, we having the PA5000 series firewall, and the last but not least, we having a 7000 series of firewall, one of the biggest firewall in the Palo Alto, and one of the, I can say, uh, costly firewall available in the market for the Palo Alto, right? And basically, it's a huge. So whatever you need, you can purchase the firewall. So try to understand some data sheet of the Palo Alto firewall. I just snipped from the Palo Alto website only. So for you, so you can see like if you're using the very small firewall, so this small firewall having the very small features. What are the small features? So you can see if you're trying to build the IPsec tunnel through this firewall, so most important, you cannot exceed more than 100 Mbps throughputs. So if you want to get more than 100 Mbps speed through this firewall, it is not possible. It is going to support up to 100 Mbps only, right? They having some kind of the limitation of the maximum sessions, how much they can support. New session per second, how much they are going to build. IPsec tunnel, how much they are going to build. Might be you guys not aware what is session, what is IPsec tunnel, what is a VPN. So no need to worry. We'll discuss more in upcoming session. But these are the different parameters we have. And the virtual routers inside of this PS Series 3, we are just having a 3 virtual routers and 15 security zone we can create, and maximum policy we can create up to 250. And threat prevention and the firewall throughput for the application ID, that is also very minimum. So we discuss what is the application ID, what is the threat prevention in more detail in the upcoming session. But you see the statistics, it's very low. And if you just compare this statistics with any high-end firewall, it is going to be huge. So if I just comparing with the 800, see, almost everything is double or triple or more than that. You can see everything has been increased. Policy was just 250, now here policy is 1500. Anyone asking? Let me just mute. So like you can see the session per second, it has been increased. The VPN throughput, there was only 100, but here is the 400. So a lot of parameters has been increased here. and based on the parameters, your firewall model also has been changed, and you have to pay more. And if you go a little bit down, so 3000, it is keep increasing, and more feature is going to be introduced. So earlier there is something feature which is very limited, but if you're talking about the higher end firewall, they are also start supporting the SSL VPNs. So you don't know what is SSL VPNs, we'll discuss about. They start supporting about this VSYS. Even you don't know about what is the VSYS, and you can see security zone is 60 and the firewall policy is the 2500. So it's a huge things we having in this particular 3000 of series of firewalls. And if you move more firewalls again, likewise the 200 series of firewall, it's having, like you can see that, virtual router like I can say around 462,000 new session per second, right? 462,000 per session new, and you can see around how much 6400,000, like 6400,000. You can see like you having a maximum session you can create 24 GPS IPsec throughput, it is there. So the numbers are very high because you are using the very high end model of the firewalls, and you are paying the too much. And if you go for the last one, it's like a huge, you can see the session per second, new session per second, max session, virtual router, max number of policy. It's again a very huge number. So I mean to say, whatever you are just using here, that is based on your money, you're getting the more powerful firewalls. And if you're getting more powerful firewalls, your firewall is capable to process a lot of things, right? So where we can use the high-end firewall and low-end firewall. So if you're having the very small site, as I mentioned that, where the limited users are sitting, so you can use this PA200 series of firewall, but you have having the medium branch where might be the 100 plus users are sitting, or 200, 300. So we can use this 800, or might be you can use for the 3200. These are the ideal solution for that, for any medium, or I can say large branch sites, or might be it's a very big site, so you can use the PA 5200, or sometime it uses in a data center as well. So this is the data center series firewall, 5200 series of the firewall, 7000 previous. These are the data center series, but some branches I have seen which are the very big, where more than 1000, 2000 users are sitting. So they use sometime PA 52 series of the firewall also, 100 series of the firewall also. So different of the requirement, based on the different requirements, and different firewalls can be used, and you have to pay a lot of things for that. So you guys can refer this different models, might be it is going to ask, and these all are the physical firewall, not a virtual firewalls. Okay. So this model, whatever we just discussed, they are the physical firewall, not the virtual firewalls. So any question about the firewalls of the virtual firewall, physical firewalls? Anyone want to discuss anything, or everyone is clear about that? Okay. So if you having any question, if you guys having any question, you can ask with me right away. If not, we can close this session for today. We can continue tomorrow on the same time. What do you think, guys? It's okay for everyone? I'm just taking as a yes. You all are okay. And definitely, Kamarjit, I'm just going to work for you and everyone to just provide the all required details. Okay. And see you tomorrow on the same time. Have a great evening, you all. Bye bye. Take care.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Bye bye. Take care.